Motion to open up the Finance Committee meeting for June 12th, 2024. And I'll note that Councilors Jordan, Sullivan, Devine, Givner, and Ocasio are here tonight. And the first order of business is, if you can give me a motion to take up item 1.
So moved.
Okay. Is the Director of the Board of Health online at all?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, we did get, this is ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal year 2024, $500 as followed, to pay the substitute nurse $500, and to pay overtime $500. And we did get some information about, for lack of a better term, a tobacco check, sting, whatever you want to call it. And we do have those people, or the information on those. So I don't know if everybody got a copy of this, a cease and correction case, cease and desist order in their packet tonight?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, that's
Yes,
what this,
they actually did catch 14 violations, but we only had time for the 7
okay.
at that meeting.
And did you have a question, Mike, about the payments?
Yeah. So could you tell me, we've sent out fines, but have any of these fines been collected?
Yes, they have to in order to keep their tobacco permit. We actually, last year, one business alone, we fined $9,000, and they had to pay it within 2 months, and they broke it into installments.
Okay, and all the rest of them are paid?
These aren't paid yet, no. Some of them asked for a little bit more time, and what we decided to say at the meeting was, well, your permit is due July 1st because it's tied to their food permit as well. So if, I believe it was 1 or 2 that if they didn't pay by July 1st, that obviously we have their food permit to hold. So
Okay.
all the fees should be paid by July 1st.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. What is the standard fee for these infractions?
They're state fines. If it's on the state violations, which we have our own Holyoke regulations as well, like in Holyoke, you can't sell a single cigar for under $250. So that's a lesser fine. I believe that's like $100. I can't remember exactly our local regulations on those fines, but state fines are mandatory $1,000, $2,000, and then $5,000 fines.
Okay,
So I guess I'd have one more.
yes, go ahead.
So I guess that leaves another question. When these fines are collected, do they go to the state or the city?
They go to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I would make a motion, or have a motion that this be complied, that this transfer be complied with?
You mean adopt?
Adopted, I knew that didn't sound right.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I would like to take out of order items 9 and 12. I see the fire chief here, and that looks like a fairly easy transfer.
Motion to take up items 9 and 12
Thank you.
out of order?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so item 9, let me know when everybody's ready.
I'm ready.
Yep.
Carmen, it's easier if
9
you
and 12.
just, yeah, look at your regular agenda, and instead of those papers, it's easier to do that, because all it is, ordered that there is hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal year 2024, $500 as follows: from firefighters, $500, to arson overtime, $500. And I'd like to hear a motion to let the fire chief talk about this.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Chief?
Yeah, this is just making sure we have some money in there in case something comes up before the end of the fiscal year. And we started, I think, with 3,500 in the account. This is what they use when both they go out to investigate and all the follow-up interviews that go along with an arson investigation or a fire investigation.
Okay. Any questions?
Motion to approve?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the next item on the agenda is going to be item 12. And everybody see that on the agenda? Okay, and that, do we have Kelly Curran on the, there she is. Okay, Kelly. This is dated 6/4/24, ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal year 2024, $7,615.42 as follows. Personnel, head administrative clerk, $7,615.42. Two, personnel contracted professional services, 761542. Make a motion, we take it off the table for discussion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, anybody got any questions for Kelly?
Just walk us through basically what's going on with it. Looks like something to do with employee self-service. They want to hire a project consultant. I don't know if they want to just talk a little bit about what's going on.
Yep, happy to. We already have a consultant. I wanted to add the $7,000 from the vacancy to the line to help pay for some of the work that they're going to do that they are doing for ESS. So it's more complicated than I'm going to make it seem, but essentially there needs to be tables created. The ones that were there, the data, it wasn't aligned, so we have to do a lot of adjusting, job classes and bargaining units and aligning them with the departments and the rules, the accrual rules, like personal time, sick time, vacation time. So there's a lot of back end work, and I wanted to use that 7,000 towards that, so the project manager can actually do that work for us.
Okay, any other questions?
Kelly, why your clerk left?
Yes.
Okay.
She went to the Parks and Rec. She's still with the city, but she's in the Parks and Rec department.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so now we're back to the regular agenda.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me just, that would be item
Motion to take up item
2.
2.
And I'm also going to include items 10 and 11. And take your time till everybody gets settled. The best thing to do is just look on the agenda. Aaron Vega is unable to be here today, but he did give me a lot of information on those orders. So I'll wait till everybody's caught up, and then I can talk about that.
I'm ready on number 2.
Everybody all set?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see, the first one is item 2, order that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal year 2024, $9,000 as followed. OPED Development Specialist, $9,000, to OPED Other Contracted Services, $9,000. And I will read item 10 and 11, if that is all right, and then I can go through what Aaron sent to me about both of those. Is that okay?
Sure.
So I'll take a motion to also take up item 10.
Motion to take up items 2, 10, and 11 as package.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, so item 10, order that there be hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal year 2024, $24,570 as followed. Smart Growth Zoning, $24,570 to 2020, fiscal year 2023 Safe Streets, $24,570. And then item 11 is ordered that in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, the City Council hereby accepts the provisions of FY23 Safe Seats, Streets and Roads for all, okay? Local funds, $24,570 in-kind match, $15,000 grant, and authorizes the establishment of fund or other method appropriate for the accounting of receipts and expenditures associated with the administration of said grant. Okay? So to go with the first one, Aaron indicated that the loss of their development specialist earlier this year has put in additional demands on the staff on the economic development side of OPED. One key aspect of the development specialist job was to oversee our marketing and tourism initiatives. This position also provided staff support to the Tourism Advisory Committee. These initiatives are funded through our mass gaming mitigation grants and include the Explore Holyoke Tourism site, overseeing the social media related to EH, working with our vendors such as Andrews Associates, managing our Holyoke Banner program, running point on our call for historic tourism projects, and being the lead in organizing the year's Doors Open event, which is part of the October Day in the Yoke. That's for the 9,000, and then he also mentions as far as the 15,000 in kind staff time. 40R is a smart growth district, and here are some informations on the fund. He did not know recently until that City Council needed to approve these funds. They will be used as a cash match to the grant. Let's see. This is from the state. Our records indicate that the city received $350,000 zoning initiative payment on or about February 17, 2010, and $93,000 density bonus payment on or about April 12, 2017. Beginning in, I believe, the following year, fiscal 18, funding for these types of payment has come out of DHCD's capital budget and legislation that more generally limits the expenditures of such funds to capital expenditures. There really is no 40, and these are from Aaron, there really is no 40R specific restrictions on how the money can be spent, given the payments were from the SG Housing Trust Fund and preceded the funding transition to DHCD's capital budget. Since the city has already issued building permits for eligible bonus units within the district, example Chestnut Park, absent municipal action eliminating the smart growth zoning in a manner that would reduce the number of previously recognized incentive units below the unit minimum associated with the 350,000 ZIP. The city is hereby effectively no longer subject to the clawback provisions, and I'm not sure, but maybe Tanya can help us with that, that would otherwise authorize DHCD to demand repayment. So that's it in a nutshell. I know it's a little confusing. Let's see if there's anything else that he mentioned. In June of 2024, the Massachusetts Gaming Commission authorized the award of $219,500 to Holyoke for its municipal block grant. Please note that any and all conditions set by the commission will be included in your FY 2025 grant and Mass State contract. And then it goes into community planning. GSCVB membership package was partially funded in the amount of $500 for the cost of Holyoke Tourism Advisory Committee membership, and the public safety was not funded through this grant. So I'm sure that people might have questions. Tanya, is there anything that you can add to this?
I really have nothing to add, but also I can probably answer any questions that you have. And I know what you're talking about, so to me it wasn't as complicated as it sounded. So let me know if you have questions.
I have a
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Tanya or Patty, whoever feels most qualified. First one, I guess I'll start with item 2, since that was the beginning one. It says here that they want to take the development specialist money and put it for other contracted services, $9,000, to grant match engineering contract services. Do we have the grant that's going to, or is?
I actually,
What engineering contract services would be, and like sort of why would that be outside of the DPW scope?
believe he covered that, and it was the, Patty, you probably have the name of the grant, but it was a combined grant with, economic development and engineering, and I can't remember the exact name of it, he doesn't have it on here. But it's supposed to be partly for the in-kind.
Is it
match.
related to this Safe Streets?
I want to say yes to that, but I didn't put it all together until this moment. I really worked with him on the cash match, but I do know that without a developmental specialist, he needs to still do in-kind match of the $15,000. So, although he doesn't have it on here, this is the only one that I know of that also is combined with the DPW with engineering. So I think he's gonna use this, that $9,000, and we can verify it, for the in-kind match, which can be charged off to the general fund, and then the smart growth zoning, the 24,570, that has to be a cash match.
Okay, and one thing, I'll just interrupt you for a second, Kevin. I also got something from Aaron that Carl will not be able to take the lead on this. The application started back when we had a city engineer, and this was a partnership with them and OPED. Now OPED is the lead, and that's why he is taking the lead on that. It is a planning grant with a match, hence the other order. We will be reducing that amount with staff time, but we need to show we have full match ready.
I'm just trying to
I know it's.
tick and tie the
Yep.
math
It
here.
is the $15,000 for the safe streets. If you go on to,
Is it on
into that,
Number 11, or,
documentation.
okay, this is number 11 on the agenda?
Yeah, for safe streets, you can go on to the, I think it's the fourth page, fifth
Fourth
page.
page.
It says there right on it, the $15,000 of the in-kind match.
Okay, so,
The
it-
24,570, 15,000, and the 197,850. It's right by Article 4.
right, so it says in-kind match, so that's, we're using some staff labor, which that's fine.
Yep.
And then we have to contribute $24,570. So where is the 24,570 coming? I was assuming it's coming from item 10.
It is.
Okay.
So that's the two that go with the, so one is for the in-kinds, that can be staff, that can be any kind of in-kind match we can purchase,
Which is fine.
supplies and services.
So that's number 11.
Yeah, and then the 24,570 is the cash match.
Okay, which is fine. And then, but coming back to item 2 is 9,000. And I'm trying to understand, it says grant match, but if this,
He already has money in that contracted services account to make up the difference.
I'm sorry, what was that again, please?
For the 15,000 for the in-kind, he's transferring 9,000, but he already has $6,000 in that contracted services line. So if he's planning on hiring a consultant or somebody to do the work for the in-kind match, that's what it sounded like from his documentation.
But if it's 15 in-kind, that's not cash, right?
And that's why it's going into the general fund and not going into the grant. So the in-kind comes out of mostly comes out of the general fund. We can say it's labor, we can say it's supplies, we can say it's services, we just have to show that we did the in-kind match for the percentage.
I think I can help with this a little bit because I had a brief conversation with Aaron, and this in-kind service ordinarily would go to our city engineer, which we don't have. And since we didn't have an engineer for him to go to, he had to go outside to contracted services to get the help they needed on this.
Okay, so I'm just trying to really understand the funds flow. Maybe I'm missing something, but we have 24,570 in an account marked smart growth zoning. And we're transferring it to FY 23 Safe Streets plus new grant vote, 24,570. So that is the cash transfer. Now it says 15,000 in kind, but that's not cash.
Right.
So why are we I'm trying to understand.
Because you still have to document the in-kind match, whether it be a payroll or services rendered or supplies
I see.
purchased. So you still have to document that $15,000 of in-kind, but it doesn't have to be cash sitting in the new grant fund.
So the 15,000 is 6,000 that we're doing something, and then they're hiring this 9,000 in engineering to put towards the in-kind.
Correct, if you approve.
Right, got it. All right. I just want to understand the funds flow, that's all.
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. I'm just wondering why it's referencing a prior fiscal year, the 2023.
Yeah.
Is it because that's when it started, or are we backfilling?
The state and the federal government actually go previous year, so they get their awards and they do it ahead of time. So we're in fiscal '24, they're awarding 2023 right now.
Okay.
And
thanks.
it's, sometimes they're 3 years, sometimes it's leftover
Okay.
money, so it could be
Okay,
anything.
thank you.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to approve 2, 10, and 11.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. My apologies, I probably should have taken these up separately. I didn't realize there would be so much involved in it.
Yeah, but
we got it
they're all
done.
related.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
did it right. Yeah.
So we got it done, that's good. Okay, so now we are on,
Motion to take up item 3?
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. And Carl is here. So the first one is order that the DPW and sewer put together a study and present it on potential benefits of adopting a sewer maintenance program similar to the one run at the water department. This was from Council Rivera and Israel Rivera, and what I was going to do, I don't know if Carl has that information. What I was going to propose was that we send this to the DPW commission so that when they have their next commission meeting, they take this up and get the information for us. Does that sound
It does sound good,
logical?
but may I add
Yeah, oh,
a
gee,
comment?
please.
Yeah. I had filed a similar order a couple of years back, and one of the things that when I was on the Water Commission, we created the maintenance program for the Water Department, which I think most people have been pleased with, especially if that happens to you and you're not paying thousands and thousands of dollars. There was an evaluation done by a company that and Mary Monahan was working significantly on this, which was relative to there is a company out there that provides this type of insurance, if you will. And it is a maintenance policy, and it was going to cost, if we did everybody in the city, it was going to be somewhere in the vicinity of about $60 a year. The question is, do we have everybody, we couldn't make it optional to keep it at that price. But I think we would want to rejuvenate that analysis that was done a couple of years ago to check the rates to see if we could do that. But it seemed to me a good way to help protect homeowners in particular. And then you could have a residential versus commercial too, and there could be different rates, but generally viewed as residential, in case your sewer line collapses and you have to go in and dig it out, that could be $5, $6, $7, maybe more $1,000. So, yeah, I think an update from the DPW Commission would be appropriate. They have done significant amount of work, and I did attend numerous meetings with them on it, so they're very familiar with the issue.
Okay. I think it's a good order. I think, it's hardly noticeable what's in your water bill, from the water department. And Kevin is right. It's almost like a little safety valve.
That's right.
So that if something happens on your street or going into your house, you're not going to pay an arm and a leg for it because they have this fund. And so Israel is looking to do the same thing with the DPW. So I would entertain a motion to, if you say they've already got the information?
Yes, they
Did
would
you
probably
say-
just need to update it, but yeah.
Okay. Counselor Sullivan?
Well, we've got Carl Rossi online now. If
Oh,
he's
is he?
got something.
I don't know if he's got this information ready.
No, I don't. I think this predates me. It might even predate Mary. So if you give me some time to see what I could find, and maybe I could work with Counselor Jordan
Yep.
and to see what we can do going forward.
Yeah, happy to work with you. I think, Carl, it may predate you, but I don't think it predates Mary. It might, but gee, I thought she was involved, but I know we had discussed it and looked into it, and it was relative, I think if memory serves, it was some company through the U.S. Conference of Mayors that does this for different communities, and they actually did a slide deck, Carl, and they have done this program in a number of communities. I'll have to go back. I'll go back in my notes and see if I can email you something to, at least you have something to start with.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but appreciate you looking into it. Thank you.
So I'll entertain a motion that we send this to the DPW Commission and ask them to take it up at their next meeting.
Yes.
So they can start getting the information.
Yeah, so moved.
Anybody, any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we move to item 4.
Motion to take up item number 4.
Okay, the chief is here. Hello, chief. Item 4, ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in the fiscal year 2024, $16,300 as follows. From HPD snow removal overtime, $6,300, to HPD education plan, $10,000 total, for a total of $16,300, to HPD special events overtime, $16,300. Will we take it off the table for discussion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Chief, go ahead.
Hi, this is Captain Cruz. I had a
You know,
step in
I'm
for-
looking at you, I'm saying, that's not the chief. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Captain.
He's in the building, but he had to step out, so he told me to handle this one.
Okay,
In terms of the special events, we got the fireworks on the 28th, and we also have the rain date on the 30th. We want to be able, in case there's an emergency on the 28th and I bring in my guys, and then they cancel the fireworks, I still have to pay them. And then on the rain day, if I bring them back again, I got to pay them the second time. So that's why I want to be sure that I have enough in there to cover both days. If we don't need to use both days, then you're obviously going to get the surplus back. We also have the Pride Fest, and we also have several smaller events in June and July coming up. And that's why I'm asking for this transfer.
okay.
Can I ask a question?
Any questions here? Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sure. Captain Cruz, or maybe to the auditor, it appeared that these were all expense lines, and you're transferring it from one expense line to another expense line inside your department. So the question is, how come it's being brought to the city council for a vote and not just transferred on your own with mayoral approval? I was under the impression, same department, expense to expense, it doesn't require a city council vote.
You're talking about the overtime?
Yeah,
So what the ordinance says is that any object up to 51399 has to be brought in front of city council and
okay,
vote.
all right.
All right, thank you.
That's fine, thank you.
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. I just have one question, because in ordinance, we're waiting for legal form relative to the special events. And I just wanted to be sure that if it's a private entity that we're providing police services for, that they are paying for it, that wouldn't be coming out of the city budget?
Correct, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Motion to
Okay.
adopt?
So moved. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so now we can go out to item 5. Will we take it off the table for discussion?
Second.
Okay, ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in the fiscal year 2024, 21,000 as follows. Patrolman, 21,000, to energy, 21,000. And Captain Cruz is still here. If you, we're going to discuss this, if you want to give us any information.
Yes, we have a gas and electric bill we have to pay. We started with 130,000. We don't have much left to cover, so that's why we need the 21,000 to pay for the lights.
Okay, so that's a finish of for the lights.
Yes, the electricity, the electrical bill.
Okay. any questions?
Coming from patrolman.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve.
One quick question, if you have it, Captain, how much is left then, we're transferring it on patrolman? I take it then we're quite a bit short-staffed still there, is there quite a bit of surplus there going into the end of the year?
Yes, we'll still have some surplus.
No, any idea how much, or
I believe the chief told me approximately 150,000.
150? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions or concerns, or, okay?
Motion to approve?
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you very much, Chief Pratt. Thank you, Captain Cruz, thank you. Okay,
Well,
so,
have a good night.
you too. Okay, now we have item number 6. And I believe Tanya and Counselor Bissonette are here for that. Whereas Mass General Laws, Chapter 440, Section 5B authorizes a municipality to create a stabilization fund for a specific purpose and to appropriate amounts thereto, provided that such action is effective for at least a 3-year period, and whereas Chapter 77 of the General Acts of 2023 eliminated the minimum 3-year provision and authorizes a municipality to terminate a specialized stabilization fund at any time, whereas the City of Holyoke, through its City Council, had voted in June of 2023 to create such a fund to accumulate revenue received from the Massachusetts statewide opiate settlement, and whereas the City of Holyoke now wishes to terminate the Opioid Settlement Stabilization Fund and the dedication of revenues from the settlement as authorized under Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2023, and to create a special revenue fund for ongoing opiate settlement revenues as authorized by the Department of Revenue as per attached DOR Bulletin 2023-7. Therefore, be ordered, the stabilization fund created in June of 2023 to receive opiate settlement funds and the dedication of any revenues thereto is hereby terminated as authorized by Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2023 under Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 5B. So move we take it off the table for discussion. And we know that Tanya's here and Attorney Bissonette is here. So should we have Attorney Bissonette and Tanya talk first, and then you can apply your questions?
Sure.
Okay, so whoever wants to go first, please do.
Attorney Bissonette, you can go first.
Tanya. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So the petition lays this out pretty clearly. Also, you should have attached the original Division of Local Services memo on this. Part of the reason why a lot of communities did not move forward in spending their opioid funds because of lack of direction. Last June, I was before you saying the direction we had just gotten then from DOR was to open a stabilization account, and they would try to enact some legislative changes. Those changes came in December of 2023, and over the holiday, everyone prepared for guidance from DOR. That came in a memo from Deb Wagner in January, which is a memo that we sent over to you. Basically, it outlines what you can do with the proceeds going forward and what you need to do if you already have proceeds. In this case, we had one payment that was available to go into that stabilization fund you created last June. And that amount, I believe, was between 60 and 70,000. Tanya may know that to the cent much better than I would. But that's the situation, whether or not the special reserve fund now created to receive these funds by legislative act is going to be the recipient of these funds, this 60 to 70,000 that's in the stabilization account. So the petition would terminate that and then put it in line with the remainder of funds that are now going to be over 17. Originally a 17-year period, now 14 years. And there's a possibility even some of that may get more front-loaded as this gets finalized. There's also another revenue stream on 3 cases that are in bankruptcy court, awaiting whether or not the personal liability of folks that benefited from these, primarily the Sackler family, whether they're going to be absolved from liability in exchange for releasing their shares in the company Pharma. So we need to wait and see, but that contribution could bring a significant amount, perhaps as much as 1/3 more to the city of Holyoke itself. So that's pretty much where we're at. And the question is before the council to move the funds placed there last June into the current reserve account. I think I've got that right, but I'll turn it over to the one who knows this stuff much better than I do.
So for the opioid funding, everything that Attorney Bissonette said is accurate. But just in layman's terms, what happens is we started receiving all of these opioid revenues and we were putting them in the general fund, kind of like cannabis impact. So once the general fund closes for the fiscal year, all of those revenues go into free cash or into the next year's budget. So we have some of this money sitting in free cash. We have some of this money in the stabilization account, $74,000. And we just got another check for $423. So altogether it's $850,000. The state, in order for us to take that money away from the general fund to segregate it, because we do have to spend that money on opioid issues, they didn't send us guidance. So one of the things they did say is that we could create this stabilization fund, put the money in there as a holding place until we get further guidance. So that's what we did. So we created the stabilization fund, 2/3 vote just for expenditure. Now they're saying, okay, now you can just create a revolving fund. And we'll put that money in the revolving fund. The mayor can start his programs. Obviously, there's some pretty strict guidelines on expenditures. But because we created the stabilization fund, we can't create the special revenue fund because we've already taken a vote to put it in the stabilization. So it would be up to city council. Do you want that money to stay in a stabilization account, or do you want that money to go into a special revenue account, which has less oversight by city council? There's no vote to appropriate the funding into the general fund. It's a little weird though, because you're gonna see our free cash come up. We have $427,000 that belongs to opioid funding. So we're either gonna put that, cause you have to spend it on that, or you're gonna have to spend it out of your general fund and show, that you've spent it on the correct programs, so.
And if that was the case, that we have to spend it out of the general fund, everything that the mayor puts towards programs or whatever has to come before the city council?
If it's in the general fund, it doesn't have to come before city council. The problem with that, there's not really a problem, but the problem is with the tracking, right? So if you don't have all this money in one place and you're tracking it out of a fund, it's gonna be scattered all over the place. So if somebody says, where'd my money go? It's not going to be clear. You're going to have to keep it like a spreadsheet or whatever, whereas if it's all in one place, you're like, okay, here's your $850,000 and this is what we've done with it, whether by vote or whether by just, the mayor going through his committees and programs.
Okay. Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, thank you, both of you. I really appreciate that background. And I know we had a little opportunity to discuss this a bit at the full council before we sent it back to finance. This is basically, the funds are coming in. It's just a question of how we're going to handle the expenditure of the funds. Ultimately, the mayor is going to, lay out what his plan is. Why I would like to have a stabilization fund and not dissolve this stabilization fund and keep it is for exactly the point that Tanya made, which is that the future appropriations, whatever the mayor comes forward with, would have to be subject to approval also by the city council. If we do just the reserve account or do it strictly through the general fund, then it becomes almost like ARPA money. No council vote involved at all. He can spend it on whatever. And when you're talking these kind of monies, I think it should be best that it's the mayor and the council both approving it. That's why I think, and this was why the concerns were raised, we don't have to have, that was the clarification that came, we don't have to have a stabilization fund. But I'm in the camp that says we created it, this was the approach we were going, and just from a good government perspective, I think that makes the most sense that the mayor should come in like any other appropriation and say, I want to do X, Y, and Z with the money. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good stuff to do with this opioid money. Lord only knows how many people have been harmed by opioid addiction and otherwise. And we certainly have the need in the community. But I think the council should also be part of the discussion. That's why I would recommend we not dissolve this, keep with the stabilization fund approach, and live on happily ever after.
Counselor Bacon?
Thank you. I think if we keep it in the stabilization fund, it will also protect the city against potential liabilities and paybacks. Because if we're taking a double look and we're making sure we won't run into some of the troubles we've run into with grants, where we haven't met all the rules and then we have to turn around and somehow return money. So I think if we have a sort of a two-step process, it may protect us a little bit more in that regard as well. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question to both Attorney Bissonette and Tanya. Is this a good approach? Do you approve of that approach? Not that we need your approval, but I'm just curious about your take on this, if we move it to keep it in stabilization.
I personally have no preference.
Okay, you don't have a preference? Okay.
I mean, I think it will take longer to expend the dollars if it's in a stabilization fund, so I guess it depends on how fast that you want to start your programs and expenditures.
Okay.
The DLS seems to feel pretty confident that it should be in a revolving fund, and had they had sent out the rule ahead of time, we would have created the fund and we would have just put it in there, so take that for what it is.
Okay. Counselor Bissonette, are you okay with that?
My read of the statute changes that it's prospective. So what's in there now is what's in there now, subject to either expenditure or dissolution. And then anything coming in the future has to go into the special reserve fund. So essentially, even if it was a designated revenue stream, as part of the creation of the stabilization fund, the enactment of the statute knocked out that provision in every one of these across the state that used a stabilization fund. So what you're left with is the corpse of the first payment, basically, in the stabilization fund. Almost simply because of the clock, that was the only money that was there as of last June, before you closed out the fiscal year, which is why we did it. So knowing there was funds coming, the mayor wanted to be certain there was a vehicle to be able to set up a program this coming fiscal year. And so we did that, anticipating the legislature would, again, drag its heels on making the change. 6 months later, they did make the change. And so that brings us to today.
Okay, and if we make a motion to keep it in stabilization, is that information sent to the state? And will they come back and say, no, you can't do that?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe you're within your rights to do that. I know that there's a difference of opinion, and some believe that your stabilization account is automatically dissolved because of the order to terminate any funds going into it. But I don't read it that way. Stabilization funds are subject to some changing rules about votes, but the resolution to dissolve a stabilization fund is the council's decision. Council alone makes that call. So once a stabilization fund is created, that's the only way. It can either be closed by a vote of the council or by vote of the legislature. In this specific instance, there's no language that mandates that it be closed, so it remains open until such a resolution terminates it.
Okay. And how much is in the stabilization? Is that the 850,000? 70? Oh, only 74?
Currently.
Okay. And what's the 850,000 total?
The other money coming in.
Okay, all right. All right. Any other questions or comments?
So
Go ahead.
the other monies coming in could still go into this stabilization fund?
Yep.
Tanya?
No dissolution, no revolving fund. So as long as the stabilization fund is there, the money will go there.
Okay, all right. And that's 74,000 you said now?
Currently, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other comments or questions or
I make a motion it be denied.
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Everybody, aye? Okay, thank you very much. All right, so now we have item
Number 7.
six, sorry. Item 7, okay. This is take it off the table. Counselor Jordan order that the city treasurer please provide the city council with a review and analysis of the Pacific Legal Foundation report that states that $83,000 in home equity from 13 Holyoke homes was inappropriately taken from our residents pursuing Holyoke property tax liens. Please provide us with details on these 13 properties and how this could happen to Holyoke residents, including the names of any entity pursuing our liens. Please advise the City Council if Holyoke has done business with Talmadge Davis LLC. Please notify the City Council if proper safeguards are in place so that we only collect back taxes and not allow the city or anyone purporting to be acting on our behalf to take residents' home equity. Move we take it off the table for discussion.
Second.
And this was another one like we did with, I might propose that we send this to the treasurer, because
Yep.
he doesn't have that information yet. So I would say that we send this to the treasurer, and as soon as he has this information complete, to let the finance committee know, and I will set up a meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, and just for the chair, I did have a chance to talk to the treasurer for a bit about this, and he said he would be happy to work on this. He's got some good info, and he said just give him some time. So, it's not like a
An
do or
emergency,
die.
okay.
Exactly. So, he's very busy. So
Okay.
give him some time,
Okay.
even if it's August, September, that's fine, no problem.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion that we do that?
Yeah.
Send it to the treasurer? Okay, all those do you have a question?
Well, is a motion on the table?
Probably motion the table
Well,
with a copy to the
No,
treasurer, or how do you want to do it?
I want to just send it to the treasurer.
Just send it to the
Because
treasurer.
if you table it, it's going to create something.
Okay, I'm fine.
And a copy to the treasurer. So I want to just give it to the treasurer.
Okay.
When he's finished with it, when he has the information, by all means, get in touch with us, particularly me as a chair, and I will set it up right away.
The only question is, if we send him this, what are you gonna be able to hold the meeting on? Just the report that he sends back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that all right?
That's fine with me, as long
I
as you
think
can.
that's the
as long as
easiest
you
way
can
to
that,
do it.
That's fine.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we're on item 8.
Take up item 8.
Yes, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. I just have one report before I read this. I did hear from Counselor Anderson Burgos today and Counselor Rivera, and they've asked me to withdraw their names from this order. So I wanted to let you know that.
Okay.
Then I'll read this. This was done 8/2/22, referred back 6/4/24, and we'll just, even though it had Anderson Burgos and Israel Rivera, right now it's Jordan order that the City Council conduct a comprehensive study of employee safety for the benefit of our Holyoke municipal employees and our taxpayers. The City Council should invite the Personnel Director, Workers' Comp Representative, Mayor, Law Department, Department Heads, Union leadership, and others as needed to gather all the information we need to study the root cause of employee injuries, how they were handled, how are they mitigated, how are we handling risk management to avoid future losses, Our goal should be to keep employees safe, reduce lost hours, productivity, and overall cost to the city. We need to collect all relevant data, including a prior 3-year report tracking injury claims, workers' comp claims, injured on duty claims, and related. Ideally, the city council will produce a report within 6 months on its finding in conjunction with all key stakeholders. So take a motion that we take this off the table for discussion, and my feeling is, and maybe Councilor Jordan has a different take on this, the way this order is written, we'd have to have so many people in here to discuss this. I'm just wondering if it would be easier to send this order to the people that are in that order, you know, the mayor, the law department, department heads, union leadership, or do you want to change it to 1 or 2 people instead of all these people?
Correct.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, because a lot has transpired since this was originally filed. So my hope was that the committee, in working with these different areas, would help us, and we would sort of compile the information for a report so that we could take action to do what we got to do. So along the road, the mayor had grabbed the ball at one point. They incorporated our insurance advisors, personnel got involved, and that's kind of how they approached it to do a study and analysis. So what I would recommend is, we have not seen any report from that or what they've done with it. So I wanted to amend this to say city council and ask personnel director, change it from city council to personnel director, and then have them report back to the city council with their findings.
When you say they, mean personnel director?
Personnel
So the
director.
personnel director would go to the
With the help
mayor.
of these, obviously, these
Okay.
other individuals, yeah.
Could you,
So let's amend it to.
Formulate, yeah.
Yeah, sure. So we'll say amend, anywhere you see city council, change that to personnel director.
so the personnel director should invite,
Should conduct, the personnel director conduct a comprehensive study of employee safety for the benefit of Holyoke municipal employees and our taxpayers. The personnel director should invite in, we don't need the personnel director twice now, so we
Right.
can take that word out. Workers' comp representatives, mayor, law department, department heads, union leadership, and others as needed to gather all the information she needs to study the root causes of employee injuries and how they are handled, how they are mitigated, and how they're handling risk management to avoid future losses. Our goal should be to keep employees safe, reduce lost hours, productivity, and overall cost of the city. We need to collect all relevant data, including a prior 3-year report tracking of injury claims, workers' comp claims, injured on duty claims, and related. Ideally, the personnel director will produce a report within 6 months of its findings in conjunction with all key stakeholders to the mayor and city council.
Jeffrey, did you get that? Or do you have it in writing that you could? give
Yes,
me?
yes, I did.
Okay,
You did?
all right.
Did he say yes?
Yes, he
Okay.
did, yeah, he said yes.
All
So
right.
I would like to propose that as the amendment.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, so, all those in favor? Aye. Any, okay, so that takes care of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kevin, I may need a copy of that for my report.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you can email it to me,
I'll
it'll be
email it
fine.
to you. All right, I'll
Okay,
make a
so
note.
now we are on to
13.
item 13.
Motion to take up item 13.
Okay, ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in the year, fiscal year 2024, $33,000 as follows. Pay tree climber, $15,000. Pay senior civil engineer, $12,000. Pay power shovel operator, $6,000. To R&M exhibition hall, $1,000. R&M Pellisier building, that's right over there, right? $5,000. R&M Senior Center, $10,000. R&M Police Station, 12,000, R&M Central Fire Station, 1,000, R&M Highland Fire Station, 2,000, and R&M West Holyoke Fire Station for a total of 33,000. And make a motion that we take it off the table for discussion, and we have Carl here.
Hi, good evening. The Pellissier building is the DPW building, just for reference.
Oh. What did that used to be? The Prue Building?
Yeah,
Prue Building.
that's it.
Okay, thank
Both
you.
were paid.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, these are just basically transfers to cover the rest of the fiscal year. We had some extra monies in those 3 job titles because those job titles have vacancies in them.
okay, any questions, or
Motion to approve the transfer?
Second,
all those in favor? Aye. Okay.
motion to take 14 off the
14
table?
off the table. Ordered that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in the fiscal year 2024, $16,000 as follows. From pay highways power shovel operator, $16,000, to pay refuse heavy equipment operator, $16,000. Will we take it off the table for discussion?
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
This is the same thing. We had, obviously, you know, our struggles with getting heavy motor equipment operators, but I'm glad to report back to the Finance Committee that as far as those positions are concerned, we're fully staffed budgetarily. So that's a good sign. So I needed to transfer from power shovel operator to pay refuse operator to make sure I balance the budget for the rest of the fiscal year.
Okay. Sounds
Motion to be adopted.
All those in favor? Aye. So moved. Okay, I've got a couple things. I just need to find a email that Jeffrey sent us. No. Sorry, give me a minute. Actually, everyone got this email, so you may, it was just a, let me take this off the table first. This would be on our agenda, item 17, order that there be and hereby appropriated by transfer in fiscal 2024, $150,000 as follows. From captains, $40,000, from dispatchers, $80,000, from the Quinn bill, $30,000, for a total of $150,000, to claims and damages, $150,000, and that was tabled on 4/17/24. So I'd like a motion to pass this without a recommendation and send it to the city council.
Motion to pass this without a recommendation and send it to city council.
Any questions or concerns?
Well, I'll be voting no for,
That's fine.
people know why I'm voting no, so I don't need to repeat myself.
Right. Okay, so we'll take a motion that we send it back to city council without a recommendation. All those in favor, I'll ask for a show of hands so we can, or go, if you're gonna vote no. Counselor Jordan?
Yeah, no.
Okay, Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Devine, yes. Counselor Givner?
Yes.
And Counselor Ocasio?
Yes.
Okay, so, thank you guys very much. That'll go back to committee. And, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have anything else, do we?
Yeah, we have, I'd like to take 15 off the table, and 16, we might as well.
Yeah, but
bang.
16's a copy, and I said I'm not gonna take up copies. So I don't know where that went originally, but it's a copy.
Well, then maybe we should just get rid of it then, but I
So would
think,
you give it like leave to withdraw?
well, let's see, let's
I
take
don't
them
know.
all.
So
All right, so
you're
motion to
taking
take 15 off the table
Second.
for discussion. Okay, that passed, okay. So on 15, this is the order relative, I don't know if you want to read it, Patty, before I tell.
15, okay.
This is the one on the parking
Okay.
meters.
Yep. This is, we take it up for discussion, acting DPW superintendent, and this was 6/21/22, so it was certainly before Carl's reign, because it says superintendent, and it's no longer superintendent. Please provide the city council and parking committee the following report. For the prior 5 years, need to consider pre- and post-pandemic usage changes amount of meter revenues, and amount of parking garage revenue. Please provide total usage percentage, use spaces divided by total spaces at both parking garages annually. Please also provide an analysis of cost to get all meters fully operational. Please provide expected life cycle of the new meters if purchased. Please also provide us with current I'm gonna not be able to say, amortization schedule for the Maritopia or Suffolk Street garage. And this was tabled on 6/7/23 and again on 1/31/24. So I move we take it off the table discussion. And what's your pleasure to do with this?
I'd like to receive it, adopt it, and refer it to Carl.
Okay, so receive and adopt.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
I just have a quick question for anyone. I thought that, is this not something that the parking committee is dealing with? Like, will they be writing some of these reports and providing information so that we can?
Yeah. Their study that they did and can give this data.
Oh, okay.
That was
All
kind
right.
of the concern.
That was
yeah.
my only question. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
And this was first filed on 6/21/22, so I would suggest that we try to give Carl a little time to get this
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Okay? So,
Carl,
you still there, Carl?
no, he left.
Okay.
So how about we say report back in 60 days? Is that enough?
If
90
possible,
days?
yeah. Why don't we do 90 days, because
Okay.
that's a lot. He's got other
Yeah,
things too.
so how about we do, and then we'll put in there, report back to city council in 90 days.
Gotcha. Okay, sounds good. So all those in favor?
Yep.
Aye. And like I said, on item 16, I'm not going to take up a copy because it went somewhere. I just don't know where.
I don't know, okay, so motion to take 16 off the table.
Yep.
All right. Second. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye. So
I
ordered,
know.
ordered that Cook and Company be invited into a future subcommittee meeting to review.
Finance subcommittee meeting, it says.
Finance, that's us.
Yeah.
To review the recent health insurance analysis for the city. I'm not sure why this is being purported as a copy, because this was for this committee.
Well, I can only ask that Jeffrey look into it, but I have it down as a copy. And I believe I had checked with you, Counselor Jordan, and I said, how come this is a copy? Where did it go to? And you had indicated that you prefer to talk about it in finance. But if it went someplace else, we need to find out where it went first. and
Madam
what
Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so this, the order
There's an
of
echo.
finance,
Jeffrey, there's an echo.
how's that?
Better.
So the order said finance,
Worse.
but on the statement of agenda,
Worse.
there were,
We couldn't understand you, sorry.
on the statement of agenda, there were a couple other items that were ordinance related. This went those items to ordinance.
I appreciate what you said, but we didn't understand it, I'm sorry. Do you want to come
I'll
out
come
here?
out there.
Okay, thank you. Modern technology.
Yeah, I know.
Sounds like me when I'm upset.
What?
Sounds like me when I'm upset.
So on the same agenda that this appeared on the city council agenda, there were a couple other items related to the financial policies manual. And because the desire was to have them all go together, they were all sent to ordinance. So this was copied to finance, but the original order went
No,
to
it's
ordinance
Ordinance,
with the
so-
financial policies
Okay.
manual.
So my suggestion would be that we give this leave to withdraw, and if you want to talk to ordinance, maybe they can give you some more information.
Yeah, the problem is, we were supposed to have them in for a discussion about the conversion to, self-insurance, and, that never got taken up in ordinance.
Didn't they come in and give a presentation?
They
Yeah.
did, but then it was supposed to be, and then remember, we approved the trust fund and all of that. But then they said, well, we'll be back. We don't have all the data. We're not ready. And this is really with that. So if there's no other order on the self-insurance plan, that was in front of finance. So
my
I would like to
suggestion-
have them back to discuss.
I'm sorry, it's a copy. It went to ordinance. My suggestion was, I don't know if the ordinance chair, who might be here tonight from 2023, do you recall, Counselor Bacon, if that went to ordinance and if you did anything with it? And if not, then we need to ask the current chair of ordinance where this might be. But it's a copy, and for them to come in when they probably already came into ordinance, I think is just duplicate.
So, Counselor Givner was on ordinance too. I do not remember them ever coming into ordinance.
Okay, then I would suggest that we check with, we send this to ordinance and let them deal with it.
So, where did they give that presentation?
They gave it here at finance.
Oh,
And that's-
According to Jeffrey.
Well,
According to Jeffrey, it went to ordinance. And that's why there's a copy in finance.
then maybe what the answer is, we need to take it out of ordinance and bring it over here, because ordinance isn't doing anything with it.
No.
Well, why don't we send it to ordinance, ask Israel
No,
Rivera?
the problem is ordinance hasn't done anything. That's why I don't want to send it to ordinance, because they're not moving on it. I
We
would
don't know
rather,
that.
well, they haven't had any meetings.
Right, but we don't know that. That's, I'd rather check with Counselor Rivera, see if it is in ordinance. And if it's not in ordinance, I mean, this has been going on for over a year, we can certainly do an order to have it here.
Well, we just had them in January,
Well, then why are we dealing with it again?
because they're not done. And,
Again, I'm not gonna take up a copy, Kevin, not when it went another to a committee.
okay, and I'm with you, I'm willing to fix that, and have it come back this way, but that doesn't mean that we just give it leave to withdraw, and then the ordinance isn't gonna do anything. I don't know, Linda, do you wanna add to that, or?
Well, can you give me the reference of the ordinance? I'm just looking in the jacket because what Jeffrey has done is if it was taken up, he has put it on the current agenda as a tabled item.
Yeah.
But if it was never taken up, it's nowhere except it would be in the jacket itself.
Right.
So if I can just see it,
I see Rory has.
All
a
it
hand
says
too,
is,
by the way.
order that Cook and Company be invited to this was on 8/1/23.
8/1/23,
It was,
by Jourdain?
Hold
Okay,
on.
just a second here,
it was taken up in
Jeff's here
December.
with us.
It was taken up by ordinance in December.
in December.
December of 2023?
Yes, December 12th.
Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. So,
what
Okay,
happened with
hang
it?
on, Jeff, because we have some questions.
does it say what was done?
You know, I quickly jumped out here just to mention that. I didn't look at the disposition.
Okay.
Let me go, you want me
Would
to
you
go?
mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. So he's gonna go look for that. So we're getting there.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're getting, we'll figure it out.
I'm sorry?
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think, is that everything?
Yeah.
So we
That
wait
is.
till Jeffrey comes back with that. So,
So tabled in ordinance.
and it was, now we'll get the disposition.
So it should be on our agenda.
And if there is no, I don't know what the disposition is until he comes out, but if it was tabled or whatever, my suggestion is to have Counselor Rivera take it up as soon as possible.
Yeah, or, I mean, I can always file another order
You can
if
do
they're
that
not
too.
gonna do, if they're
Yeah,
not.
but let's find out first
Yeah, we'll
where
figure
the
it out.
original
Yep,
is.
Or we could
Okay.
send it back to finance too.
No, well, I want to find out where it went
From
and what it did
ordinance.
in December, and he's going to get us the disposition.
It's clearly in ordinance.
Right.
So we would have to send it from ordinance if finance wants it back.
Right.
If
That's all I'm
finance wants it back.
suggesting.
So we're just,
Could I ask a question, either through the chair or Counselor Jourdain? I wasn't, on the council back then, but why would something be, the order strictly reads, be invited to a future finance subcommittee? Why was it ever sent to
I
ordinance?
don't know, and that's what
in the
he's
first
going to
place?
find out.
Yeah.
I
have no
think
idea.
the logic was, perhaps, was because they had all the stuff on the trust fund, and that had to go
And the
through ordinance.
policies.
It was reported out as complied with.
Okay.
Okay, so it's dead.
It was complied with, so.
I mean, it's over.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Then we
Refile.
should send this out then as complied with, and I can always refile. So motion
Okay.
that it's been complied with.
all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
The mystery is solved. Do
Okay.
I hear a motion to
Adjourn.
adjourn? So moved. Okay, thank you, Jeffrey, thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everybody that was here tonight, Counselor Bissonette and Natalia. and everybody,
you.
all the city
Thank
councilors.
you. Have a good night.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry? Here. Okay,
I just want to get an update on the status.
okay,
Okay, very good.
great. Okay.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.